Greetings, welcome back to Black Bear News, where we are discussing climate change, abrupt climate change, and things adjacent. And it is totally fine to cast a wide net in your thinking and not be afraid to go down certain paths. Just because you think about something doesn't mean you believe it. Just because you question something doesn't mean you're putting it out there as a truth. But anyways, blah, blah, blah. Things to contemplate. This is a very frightening. A lot of people have been talking about this in the comment section, and a lot of people have been discussing this kind of around the fringes of the news. It hasn't really gained a lot of attention in the news that I've seen, but it's starting to. The Ebola is moving out of its normal confines in the Congo, and it's starting to show up. It's starting to cross borders in Africa, and people are starting to get very concerned about this. Ebola outbreak reaches major city in Congo, renewing calls for emergency order. The year-old outbreak has now reached Goma, and so it crossed into another country, and I apologize. I think it was Ghana, but I'm not quite sure. Heavily populated city near the border with Rwanda. The WHO will ask experts again to decide whether the issue is a declaration that could increase funding to fight the disease spread. The year-old Ebola epidemic in the Democratic Republic of Congo has reached the city of Goma, which has a population of nearly 2 million in international airport and ferries and buses that fan out over much of the region. Goma is also just 1 kilometer or about half a mile from the border with Rwanda. Just one infected man reached the city over the weekend. But it is a development that health officials have long dreaded. Okay, so it didn't reach Ghana because Ghana isn't that close to what we're talking about. Where did it go? Trying to get my geography right. Well, Ghana is slightly close to it's a couple countries away, but anyways, it seems to be breaking out of its normal confines. Because of the Goma case, Dr. Tedros said he would once again convene a WHO committee to decide whether it is time to declare the epidemic a public health emergency of international concern, which could draw more international help with the region. This would be the 4th meeting of the committee, which has declined 3 times to declare an emergency and has drawn sharp criticism from many public health experts. So, people you can argue whether this has anything to do with climate change or not. I mean, it doesn't. It's a worthy news story, regardless. This is very frightening because, obviously the conditions now are such that there seems to be, the disease seems to be taking hold and spreading. And if it gets into, what they're afraid of is if it gets into a large population center, that it could just, go everywhere, especially a population center with, large transportation hubs, airports, trains, etc. People going everywhere, spreading the disease. And then you have a global epidemic. And, the mortality rate for this disease is, without proper facilities is something like 80 or 90%. So it doesn't bode well for this to spread globally. I'm going to link this below. You can check it out. And moving on to this article from Reuters. Evidence for man-made global warming hits gold standard, says scientists. Oslo, evidence for man-made global warming has reached a gold standard level of certainty, adding pressure for cuts in greenhouse gases to limit rising temperatures, scientists said on Monday. Humanity cannot afford to ignore such clear signals, the U.S.-led team wrote in the journal Nature Climate Change of satellite measurements of rising temperatures over the past 40 years. They said confidence that human activities were raising the heat at the Earth's surface had reached a 5 sigma level, a statistical gauge meaning that there is only 1 in a million chance that the signal would appear if there were no warming. Such a gold standard was applied in 2012, for instance, to confirm the discovery of the Higgs boson subatomic particle, a basic building block of the universe. Benjamin Santer, lead author of Monday's study at the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory in California, said he hoped the findings would win over skeptics and spur action. The narrative out there that scientists don't know the cause of climate change is wrong, he told Reuters. We do. Mainstream scientists say the burning of fossil fuels is causing more floods, droughts, heat waves, and rising sea levels. U.S. President Donald Trump has often cast doubt on global warming and plans to pull out of the 197-nation Paris Climate Agreement, which seeks plans. How old is this article? This is from February 2019. Sorry. Sometimes I don't catch the date, and I find myself reading something that's a little bit older. I thought that he had already done such a thing. It's not still planning to pull out, which seeks to end the fossil fuel era this century by shifting to cleaner energies such as wind and solar power. 62% of Americans polled in 2018 believe that climate change has a human cause, up from 47% in 2013, according to the Yale Program on Climate Change Communication. As of right now, most Democrats all understand this, and about half or even more than half of Republicans understand this is a problem. So denialism is clearly a minority, and it is going to go down even further as people understand, whoa, something's different. It seems awful warm. Monday's findings by researchers in the United States and Canada and Scotland said evidence for global warming reached the 5 sigma level by 2005 in 2 of 3 sets of satellite data widely used by researchers, and in 2016 in the third. So this has already been established 15 years ago. You may see a certain fingerprint that indicates human influence, but that the actual intensity of the influence is minor, as satellite data indicate, he told Reuters. This is Professor John Christie, who wants to, let's not get excited about this, people. University of Alabama in Huntsville, which runs the third set of data, said there were still many gaps in understanding climate change. His data shows a slower pace of warming than the other 2 sets. Okay. Yeah. Everywhere else, it's worse than expected, happening faster than expected. We have, 30 years, 15 years, 12 years, 5 years, 18 months. But, hey, still plenty of gaps. We don't understand everything. The alternative explanation of natural factors dominating has got even less likely. This is Peter Stott of the British Met Office, who was among scientists drawing that conclusion and was not. So, hold on. Separately, in 2013, the United Nations IPCC concluded that it is extremely likely, or at least 95% probable, that human activities have been the main cause of climate change since the 1950s. Peter Stott of the British Met Office, who was among the scientists drawing that conclusion, was not involved in Monday's study, said he would favor raising the probability 1 notch to virtually certain, or 99 to 100%. The last 4 years have been the hottest since records began in the 19th century, and that's pretty much all you need to know. That's not an anomaly. The last 4 years have been the hottest, and in the last, 12 out of 13 hottest years have been the last 13 years, or what, so... the trend is this, yeah, and it's not going down in 2028. We're not entering a solar minimum, not large enough to offset global warming. Global warming will offset whatever solar minimum may or may not happen. Anyways, I'm going to link this below and finish up with this little fun video from Lee Camp. Lee Camp, who I like to read and sometimes talk about. He's a progressive host of a show. His show, Redacted Tonight on RT. Russians? Is that Russia Today? Yeah. Federal judge shoots down Mueller Report finding. So I'm not going to play this video, but I'm basically going to talk about some key things that he says. What he's saying, the judge shot down the idea that the Internet Research Agency, which was supposedly behind these, social media infiltrations or whatever, he shot down the idea that the IRA is linked to Russia in any way whatsoever. Basically, Mueller did not substantiate that connection in his finding. So there actually isn't a connection between the IRA and Russia. And then the other main point of the report that he was trying to make was that Russia stole the DNC emails and released them, and he didn't. That actually was shot down as well. He didn't substantiate that finding. There was not evidence to substantiate that. It was only, possibly, maybe, appeared to be, but not did. But let me talk about two other points. So what they found out, actually, one point of the Russia stealing the DNC emails is that they figured out that the transfer speeds at which the emails were downloaded, they could figure that out. The transfer speeds were too fast to be done over the internet. So they basically established the fact that the data and the emails had to be downloaded so quickly that it had to be onto a device. So however they were taken or stolen or moved, it wasn't over the internet. It wasn't a hack. It was somebody downloading it directly with a device. And we can go on and on about what that possibility may have been. But let me talk about the other point that is so damning but nobody talks about, and that is that the DNC servers that were supposedly hacked with these emails were destroyed before the evidence was given to the FBI. So they had an outside firm called CrowdStrike. The DNC hired this outside firm to investigate the servers, right? And somehow they came up with this idea that they were hacked by Russians. But, before they supplied the FBI with these, servers, they destroyed them. Destroyed evidence and then made a copy of the servers and then gave them to the FBI. And the FBI was like, "Thanks. That's great." And also their report that they gave to the FBI had redacted information. So the FBI was also okay with that. So all of this actually happened. This is not nobody made this up. This actually happened. CrowdStrike investigated the servers. The DNC destroyed the servers. So all of that is illegal. All of that is grounds for indictment immediately in any court of law. That's totally and completely illegal and not okay. And so who knows what's going on with the FBI or what's going on with how they investigated this whole thing, but that nobody's saying, "Hey, do you think we should possibly wonder, should we ask questions about this? Should we wonder why this happened?" No, let's blame the Russians. Let me just bring up one more point in the story that, involving Hillary Clinton being investigated by the FBI, that she destroyed 30,000 emails. The FBI was like, "Give us your emails." And she was like, "Hold on, let me delete a bunch of them real quick." And they're like, "Hey, where did these emails go?" "Oh, they weren't important. They were about yoga." Again, immediate indictment of obstruction of justice and destruction of evidence. Immediate. Super guilty. Like, boom, that happened. She admitted that happened. Everybody knows that happened. Again, but let's blame this on somebody else. Let's, look over here. Let's not question this. If you question this, you're a conspiracy theorist, most likely influenced by Russia. No, that's not true. Actually, all of these things actually happened, and the people that are questioning them have legitimate questions, and the powers that be really don't want you to question it and want to tell you that you're a bad person for questioning it, and then want to, tell everybody how something else happened entirely. And everybody that watches mainstream news, CNN, MSNBC, Rachel Maddow, whoever, whoever all those clowns are that on those channels, they all want to, tell you that they know what's going on because they saw it on the television, or they saw it on CNN, or they saw it on Rachel Maddow, or, this is extremely dangerous stuff. People have questions, legitimate questions. And again, the answer to that is not to go, you guys are crazy. No, the answer to that is really? That sounds really horrific. We should look into this. Or, if somebody says, hey, there's a strong indication that, people might be, using children for nefarious purposes. The immediate answer should never, ever be, no, you're just making that up. Oh, that's a conspiracy theory. Oh, you must be an alt-right person. Oh, you must be in the League of Russians. No, the immediate answer to that is, really? Tell me more, or we should look into this. We should really have an investigation into this. That's your answer, unless you're a sick person or a brainwashed person or a, propaganda eater. Propaganda. Tastes so good. Yeah, I'm going to link this video. Watch it. It's very, their progressive left channels are covering these stories. Jimmy Dore, Lee Camp, there's a few other ones that are talking about this. They're trying to say, hey, guys, this is not what's really happening. And the reason why they're doing this has other implications, like we're going to censor you. We're going to tell you that alternative news is bad. We're going to tell you that everybody's a conspiracy theorist. We're going to tell you that Russia's behind everything that we don't want you to hear. And that's straight up all that's happening. I urge you to, if you believe any of these stories, I urge you strongly to rethink your position on this. Or I urge you strongly to open your mind and go, maybe what I believe isn't true, unless you're really invested in believing it. I know we're invested in believing it because, Trump bad. It's all Trump. Of course, he was in league with Russia. Trump is bad. Trump is a crazy, insane person. And, I hope that he's out of office immediately. There are other things that we could be talking about, the terrible things that he's doing. There are obvious terrible things that he's doing. But this whole other thing, this Russia thing, this whole, other story is being used against people who are trying to question everything and what's happening. And there's absolutely nothing ever wrong with questioning what's going on. That is your right and your duty as an American citizen to question the official story. That is truly what it means to be a patriot. I could go on and on and on, and I won't right now, but I probably will in another video. But thank you so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. If you would like to support this channel, you can do so at the links below. Until next time, peace.